And we are live
Whenever.
whenever we are
Call it in
ready.
three, two, one. Bam.
What's good, Forbidden Fruit Podcast? We're back with another episode.
Yeah, so guys,
Yeah,
in today's episode, it's all about the long run, not just in sport but also spirit. Our guest is a marathon runner,
yeah,
with heart and passion, and also a vision bigger than the finishing line.
yeah,
So yeah, he's not just chasing personal best or interest. He's also building a community, a mindset, a
for sure, for
movement.
sure.
Yeah, and he's a man who knows that most powerful victories are not given,
Given,
but
but
earned.
for
Yeah.
sure,
So,
yeah.
Mr. Luke, how you feeling?
No, thanks, man. That's a very sweet intro. Do
Yeah.
appreciate that. No, feeling good, feeling positive.
Yeah.
I think it's the only way to take things, you know.
Yeah.
Now
For
So,
sure.
we thought we should be creative with that intro.
No, I
Ju-
think no, it's really good. Yeah, it's
what what
definitely
what I was asking you is that I never seen you smile or laugh, so
really.
we're trying to do an icebreaker.
Yeah, you see, maybe I'm too serious if you don't know me, you know. But I think
Nah,
no, I think I'm very much a relaxed person, but maybe in the settings that we've seen each other,
nah, for sure, for
yeah,
sure.
I'm a bit too serious.
Yeah.
I need to maybe address that a bit.
Nah,
yeah,
nah,
Scaring
nah.
a few guys away there.
Now we understand it's only business, bro.
No,
Yeah,
for sure, for sure.
yeah,
No, thanks, guys. Yeah, we've been talking about this for a while,
yeah.
and finally we are. So I appreciate your time.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
So, what I firstly, most and foremost want to touch on is the whole concept of fitness with the dope boys. So, like, want to know, where did the passion spark up? When did that desire of, oh, let me start my own run club
Yeah,
start?
yeah,
So, take us through it.
Yeah, I think it's actually quite a long story because my running journey started out of nowhere. So let's say if we to cut a long story short, let's say 10 years ago I used to play semi-professional rugby. Got that same old story, got injured, things didn't really go to plan.
yeah, for sure.
And yeah, I was, you know, always searching for that team or community aspect after the rugby thing didn't work out. So when I made the decision that, I wasn't going to be playing rugby anymore, it was a tough one. But just to keep like my mental health in check, I was always going to the gym. I was that typical gym put, if you want to call them that, like, oh, how much can I deadlift? How much can I bench? How
Yeah.
good do I look all the time? I wasn't really doing it for the right reasons. And when I met my now wife and we were dating, she was actually training for the New York Marathon at the time.
Yeah,
So I started to notice, a lot of hard work that had to go into this kind of achievement. But we always used to joke and say, I don't think I'll ever run even a 5K. I told her I wouldn't even bet R1 million
yeah,
on the fact that I would run a 5K at all.
Yeah.
But then I started to notice, the hard work that she was putting in and the long hours. Because when you are training for a marathon, there's a lot of long runs that you need to do. So she was doing these, 3 hour, 3.5 hour long runs.
damn.
So,
How many
yeah,
how many Ks is that?
I think her longest one was 30 or 34 kilometers. So that's
Yo,
generally like the longest run that you would do before a marathon. So yeah, between myself and her dad, we would like either cycle with her or run with her and things like that. And then she was training during winter, so safety became a bit of a factor. So then I started saying
yeah,
to her, "Okay, I'll run with you. I'll run with you." And then, funny enough, I think it was I had a bout of COVID at the time, and I remember buying my first bicycle. Yeah, it was like a cheap bicycle. I was so stoked to have it, and I started cycling with her while she was running. So now I was dabbling in the running and the cycling. Then Tyron, who's also part of Dope Boys, we are really good mates at the moment, and we've built a good friendship through racing. And he was like whispering to me like, oh, maybe we should, because he's done a lot of Ironmans and things like that. So he was trying to rope me in, and he was like, why don't we start triathlon again? Because he has a story of his own where he actually had quite a bad fall and cracked his skull open and things like that. So he's got quite a huge comeback story as well. So then from there, we started triathlon. We started, racing a lot together. And then, I had a good 2 years in the triathlon sport, but it's very pricey and it takes up a lot of your time. So from there, I decided that I'll only be running for the foreseeable future. There are obviously a few other sports that I dabble in, like high rocks and things like that. But if we're solely speaking about running, then my wife made the decision to start her own women's running club.
Yeah.
So
Is it the
Chasing Paces, yeah. So they've got a lot of media coverage at the moment. They also are the fastest growing running club in Port Elizabeth, which is quite an achievement, seeming as they are only females. So she started that in October, and I started to see how the community was building, and I thought, men's mental health is a major factor to me because I've had my bouts with it. I've overcome quite a few things on that front.
Yeah.
And I just said to her the one evening, I really do admire what you're doing with the girls running club. Maybe I should start a men's running club. And she said, yes, it's a great idea. It started off quite small. I think did she run into you guys, or was it two of the other guys that came at the start, where she had finished the Chasing Paces run, and then I know she roped and mentioned it to some of you guys because she saw you running in Walmer and said, hey, you guys need to join, for the next Friday. So, it was a small start in the beginning, but we had a pinnacle movement when we did a joint run with Chasing Paces for Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
And it was just like a really big event. And from there, I think the numbers have stayed consistent in the running club so far. And I think it's been very positive. And now that we have our home base at 6th Avenue, the numbers have really been good. I just think it's important to build a community around a healthy environment for men to get together, because I think it's so difficult for us to get roped into, going for like a couple beers with your mates and things like that. And you don't always feel the best the following day. And I just think this kind of environment gives men the platform to get advice from one another, to guide one another, and
A safe
just
space.
just a safe space. I just think we are, with our generation and the younger generation, it is becoming more normal to speak about your feelings as a man, and I don't think anyone needs to go through anything alone. So basically, that is the sole purpose of Dope Boys, and then from there we'll have some fun. We'll throw some events. We'll do some races, but I think it's important that the main thing stays the main thing, and that is we are all there for one another, and we can all help each other, whether it's in a small way or a big way.
Yeah, for sure. Those events are fun though.
No, they've been a good addition to Port Elizabeth, so I think I'm excited to see what will come next.
I want to start off by saying thank you for creating a safe space for the boys. I mean, this has made a big impact in our lives.
Yeah, for sure.
Because before we started all of this, we had this similar description to our podcast where we create a platform for people to come and open up and share their feelings and stuff and all that.
No, for sure.
Yeah. So I want to say thank you for doing all of that. And I want to encourage more people to go into running and stuff. My question for you is, do you think running is more mental or physical, and why?
It's like, I think it's an age-old debate, but I do honestly think it's definitely a mental game, because, like I said, when I first started, I didn't think that I'd run 5Ks.
Yeah.
Then after 5Ks, it became 7Ks. After 7Ks, it became an hour. And I think I have something that I do battle with, because I do consistently see a mental health coach every 2 weeks, or I haven't seen him for a while, but I was seeing him quite consistently because I always like to, say if you're training physically, you should also be training your mind to be stronger and things like that.
For sure.
And something that we've discussed quite a lot is something that I'm always doing is I'm always looking for the next big thing. And I think that's where the mental aspect comes in, because once you realize what you can accomplish and you finish that, my personality is I'm always thinking, okay, what's next? So finish your first 10K race. Okay, why can't we try a 15K, a
Yeah,
20K,
let's go
a
up.
half marathon? And yeah, I think the mental side of running can be extremely intimidating as well, because I will be quite cheesy and say that running has definitely changed my life, because I've learned a lot about myself that I wouldn't have been able to learn in any other environment. I also think you can take what you've learned in your running environment and adapt it to
To your
other
personal
parts
life.
of your life,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
if you can overcome these dark spaces that you face on these long runs, I always tell a story about this one very distinct run when I was training for my first marathon 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I'd always run a couple half marathons, and the half marathon distance, which is 21 kilometers, was always the longest distance that I had ever run. And then from there, the training now started for Cape Town Marathon. So generally the rule is that you should increase your mileage by 10% each time. So naturally I'd done a 21 kilometer, and then I'd done a 23 kilometer, which, I mean, it's only 2Ks longer, so it wasn't that bad. But I distinctly remember the first 25-kilometer long run that I did. And it was a very strange feeling, because I remember getting to the 24-kilometer mark on this long run, and I was broken. I broke down emotionally. I started crying. I was like thinking to myself, am I going to be able to finish a marathon? What am I doing out here? This is not me. I'm not capable of this. And
Yeah. Your
I
mind is
learned a
attacking
lot.
you.
Yeah, my mind was attacking me. And I mean, there's a David Goggins rule that I like to remind myself of, is that he says whenever you get into those broken moments, you're only at 40% of your capability. The body is a lot stronger than the mind.
For sure.
So when you break down in those weak moments, you need to remind yourself, why you're doing it and what you're capable of. And then you can actually go 60% more than you think you can. So yeah, running, yeah, of course it's physical. Of course there's a lot of hard work that has to be done, but it's those sessions that you don't want to do. It's the early mornings that you don't want to wake up for that will make a difference. Because if you are my competition and I'm missing a session and you're hitting your session, you're always going to be above me. So you need to think like,
Yeah.
always. I have a tattoo and a rule that it says 1%, and we should always be 1% better every single day.
Yeah.
So whether it's, skipping eating this chocolate and rather eating, I don't know, a healthier meal. Instead of running 10Ks, why don't we run 11Ks? Instead of, doing 11 push-ups, we do 12 push-ups.
I mean, I speak for all of the top boys, guys. I mean, we should next Friday increase the kilometers.
No, we can definitely
Yeah.
do that. We can definitely
Maybe we
try
can
it
do a
out,
10 or 15 this time.
Yeah, just like even an extra lap or something like that, But we are definitely working on a lot more longer and bigger events coming up that we'll start doing on the weekends and that. So it's definitely in the pipeline.
No,
I,
for sure.
I love
for
what you said into regards of the 1% improvement with yourself every day. And I feel like if you take this principle, you get to realize that it applies everywhere in your life as well. I love the reference you made about actually running from 5K. You never thought that you could do 5K. You do 5K now. You want to go ahead and increase that mileage, 10% more each time. So now, when you actually also take that to other sectors, for instance, if you go into business, now instead of like having to always get like constant numbers, now you want to try something new. You want to try like to improve things. I feel like it plays out in every aspect of one. And talking about actually running, I think I had my first race for the half marathon. That was in Charlo. Yeah, I mean that was fun. Meanwhile, I was running like I was like having like mental battles. But then I also remembered, hey, look, I'm in the uniform. I'm representing the boys here. You know what?
Yeah.
I have to keep
No,
going.
Doing,
This is
doing
what
it
we,
for the
yeah, this is
boys.
what, and I
Yeah.
was like reflecting, like I felt like I got in a state. They call it the state of flow, whereby you're just in your mind. You know,
Locked in.
actually,
Yeah.
yeah, focus what's going on. In the environment, you're just in your mind. You're just running. You don't feel like running. You just feel like as if, oh, I'm in my mind. I'm thinking, but then I'm not actually doing the
Yeah.
yeah,
work. Yeah, I think it's called state flow or something
yeah.
like that. But so
It's called flow state. Yeah. So
yeah,
flow state is very rare. I mean,
yeah,
I've had 3 sessions that I've experienced flow state, and it's like it's unbelievable. If you
it
can
feels,
ever experience that, I don't know how to lock it in. That's
yeah,
the scary part. Is like the only way I can describe it is like it's almost like you're floating outside of your body and you're just watching your body go. You don't feel the
yeah,
fatigue, you don't feel the muscles, you're just in the zone. And I've been on a few long runs and I've listened to some podcasts while I've been on these long runs, and then I've managed to slip into this flow state. And yeah, it's unbelievable. Your heart rate drops by like about 10 to 15 beats and it almost
Jeez.
feels effortless, you know.
Yeah.
So I
Feels like it.
definitely understand what you mean there.
Yeah, it
And
feels like we just can go on forever and ever. So
no,
you
for
know what
sure.
I was having those mental battles. I just started getting to the mental flow, and I just saw myself just finishing up the race, and I'm like, yo, I was in the race all this time. I'm
You
like,
Yeah.
did that.
yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
I was gonna ask that. Do you guys listen to music while running, or you just call it off?
Oh,
It depends.
yeah,
It
yeah,
depends because I've watched a few influencers that I follow that are runners, and some of them don't like to listen to music at all
Yeah.
because they find that if they can't hear their breath, then possibly they might be overworking or underworking. But
Yeah.
I think the music and the podcast they do have their own place, because I like to find when I'm doing a bit of speed work, I prefer to listen to some hip hop that can almost motivate me to
Sure,
on the
for sure.
harder efforts. But then I
Yeah.
find on my longer runs, I don't like to listen to music. I would rather listen to a podcast, because if I know I've got a 2.5 hour run, I'll try to find a 2.5 hour podcast. And then I know when these guys stop speaking,
That's
my
when
run
you.
should be
Yeah.
done. And then you can listen to their conversation. You can also learn a lot while you're running,
yeah,
because you
yeah,
will be running slower than usual. So,
For sure.
and then yeah, sometimes I don't like to listen to music. Maybe it's a beautiful day outside, and then I would rather just appreciate, the environment that we are running in. I also think, yeah, sometimes safety can also be a bit of a factor,
Sure.
because I've run into trouble once or twice, but I do think it does have its place.
Yeah.
yeah. I think it was also like running there by Skumak, and like we felt as if, you know what, let's just put music aside, let's just go in and run. Running along the ocean was just, like
Yeah.
really
Yeah, it's
dope, and you can,
beautiful. Yeah,
yeah,
Feel the
hearing
breeze.
like the
The
sound of
ocean
the
waves. Yeah.
waves, and then yeah, you smelling the breeze, the chirping birds, the trees,
Yeah.
the moving cars. It was
Yeah.
just, it just felt authentic, man.
Yeah.
So I think for me, music doesn't work.
Yeah.
Now music doesn't work. As Luke mentioned, like you need to be like checking with your like breathing rate. Are you overworking? Are you underworking?
Yeah.
What's up? Yeah,
But sometimes it's to distract your mind from
yeah,
actually doing all the work. Sometimes other people are. It's hard to be consistent and doing like waking up and going for a jog. I'm not gonna lie. I've been slacking off on these hobbies.
no, no, it's
I don't
winter
have.
now,
I don't
so
have an excuse. Yeah, it's
yeah.
cold. Yeah, it's cold.
yeah.
But my next question is: Are you a morning person or afternoon person when it comes to jogging and
That's a
gymming?
tough,
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely a tough question. Look, my heart and soul wants to be a morning person,
Yeah.
but I don't think I'm a morning person. But it's also very dependent, because my wife will be the perfect example here. She is very persistent with her
Hey
early
man,
mornings.
shout out to your wife. Yo.
Yeah, shout outs to her.
Yeah.
She's definitely the motivating factor that gets me up when I don't need to, well, when I don't want to get up. But for argument's sake, she wakes up at 5 every morning because she walks with her dad every morning. So
Yeah.
basically, he lives near us. So when she wakes up early, she knows someone is waiting for her. So there's that level of accountability.
Yeah.
So, for example, on a Friday morning, I know the boys are going to be there. I know this
Yeah.
is my initiative. So
For
you
sure.
feel a need to be
Yeah,
there.
sure.
Yeah.
There are definitely mornings where I wake up and I'm like thinking, why do I have to be up so early? Oh, okay, got to go meet the boys or whatever. I wish I could sleep in.
Yeah.
But in summertime, I mean, I'm awake. The when the sun's pumping through into the bedroom, I'm generally up. Like I don't battle to get up. And in winter, I promise you, I can sleep till 7:30, and then I can start my day. So
Hey man, it's gonna be a
it's
challenge
it's
this
very
year.
tricky, you know.
Yeah.
But I have a little piece that I wrote in one of my journals after I had seen my mental health coach, and he was basically trying to paint a picture of who the best version of Luke was. So I wrote a little section in the top of my journal, and it said, "Who is the best version of Luke, and what does he do?" And then I left that question there, and to be honest, I pondered on that question for about 2 weeks. I had not answered it, and then the one day I sat down and I was like, okay, well, the best version of Luke wakes up at 5 o'clock every day. He does his stretches in the morning. He doesn't miss a workout. He eats healthy during the day, XYZ. So sometimes when I fall off the radar, I like to go back to that first page and just remind myself, you
Yeah.
told yourself what the best version of yourself does. So what is your excuse for not doing it?
For
And
sure. For sure.
it is a very tricky situation because every morning that I do wake up late, it does feel like a little bit of a loss because what will usually happen is that my day will get ahead of me, and then I'm fighting for time at the end of the day to get my
To
workout
catch
in.
up. Yeah.
And I hate to play catch up. I hate to chase the day. I would prefer to be in front of the day at all times. So to answer your question, I am not a morning person, but the best version of me is a morning person. So
For
I do
sure.
fight that battle every morning. And sometimes I do lose and sometimes I do win. And I think it's important for, the listeners and for each individual to know that like not every day is going to be perfect.
For
And
sure.
these influencers that you see online, yeah, oh, I wake up every day 4:45 or whatever, like they're just saying that for the video.
It's cap.
Yeah,
It's cap.
there's no way. So I think that's where the 1% rule comes in. So
Sure.
for
For sure.
example, I mean, you also don't realize how you set up your day is usually how the rest of your day will go.
Yeah.
So this morning, like we did a run at 5:30, and then from there went home, and we like to. My wife and I talk about something all the time that we like to call habit stacking, that we read in a book. I think it's called The 5 a.m. Club, was the book that it came from, and it talks about habit stacking. And it's very easy to form a habit when you've already formed a habit before that. So, for example, if you wake up at 5 o'clock and you do your workout or your stretch or your run,
Yeah.
it automatically, you want to now eat a healthy breakfast and you want to get to work early. You want to get ahead of your work. During
Yeah.
the day, you want to make sure you're continuously eating healthy, drinking your water, doing another workout after work. The habits stack on top of each other.
Yeah.
Then when you come to the end of the day or maybe after breakfast, now you want to read your book. Then you want to journal. Then you want to meditate. Then you want to do your skincare routine. So habit stacking, to go off topic of your question, is something that we try to follow
Yeah.
if the early mornings do work out. And I just think on that note, for the people who do battle to be consistent, I saw on a Chris Williamson podcast where he said, when you break your habit by one day, it's just like a mistake. You can get
Yeah.
back on the wagon. But as soon as you break your habit by 2 days, you're now forming another habit.
Yeah.
So it's sometimes important to remind yourself that when you do slip up, it's just one day, it's a slip up. You can start
Don't beat
again
yourself on
tomorrow.
it.
You
Yeah.
don't have to wait till the following Monday to start those cycles again.
For sure.
Yeah,
Is how does when you wake up in the morning and go for a jog, your day becomes fresh and you think better because you went
For
for
sure.
yeah. And how about when you didn't go for a jog? How does your day look like?
Well, I mean, I'll give you my typical day when, when it doesn't go to plan. So, for example, luckily I live quite close to my office. So I'm generally here by 8 to 10 past 8 every day. But now, for example, if I've woken up at like 7:30 a.m.,
Yeah, yeah.
generally I do 2 workouts a day. So it'll be a run and a high rocks gym session or a strength gym session.
Yeah.
Or when we are in a big running block, for example, on a Thursday, there'll be a run in the morning and a run in the afternoon. So now technically my day is extremely busy. I'd usually wrap it up at the office here around 4:30, or if I'm lucky, 4 o'clock. But
Yeah.
I'm always a firm believer lately that I will leave here once all the duties are done, because you
sure,
need
for
to work to fund the privilege of training.
Yeah, yeah.
So if I wake up at 7:30, I mean, the morning is a rush. Now I'm getting dressed, I need to make a coffee, I need to pack my bag. And then generally what I find is that if I have that rush morning, I never meal prep or I never take food with me, because I battle to eat in the morning if I've just woken up. So
Yeah.
now if I've woken up too late, I won't have breakfast. I won't pack my food for the office. Um, I also feel quite flustered. So when I walk into the office, I'm like, okay, what do I need to do today? I haven't now made a list. So it seems to unravel the day a bit. Then
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer in utilizing my time the best that I can. So I hate now having to go out, get food, get lunch, get water, get cool drink for the day. And that's a waste of my time. You only have so many hours during the day. So you need to utilize the time as best you can. So now, if I haven't woken up early, I probably wouldn't have eaten correctly, which means that I'm also now having to force 2 workouts in between 4:30 and 6.
Yeah.
So now I need to rush home from the office, change, get to the gym. I feel pup in the gym because I haven't eaten well during the day.
Yeah.
And then after the gym, I've said to myself, I'm now going to go for my run. But genuinely, one of those 2 workouts will take a backseat. I'll either skip it or it will be done not at the best effort that I could offer it, because there was a week about 2 weeks ago where I said I'm going to go to a class at the gym and then I'm going to go run afterwards. But the class took everything out of me and I was just like, I can't run now. And then
Yeah.
that now leads to your consistency for the next day and the next day, because you've now missed a workout. So now your momentum is shifting backwards where we should be building it forward. So
Hey, man,
yeah, you have to learn from
it's hard
those
to
tough
stay,
days,
It's hard to stay consistent, yeah.
Yeah, I think consistency is the
For me, how
difficulty.
I like stay consistent, I love the fact that you also refer to a book. I'll definitely check out the book you mentioned. But for my one, it was Atomic Habits. I don't know if you guys know it.
Yeah.
It was Atomic Habits, and it speaks about, like channeling, systems that work out for the habits that you want to create for
Yeah.
yourself. And so basically, it just goes on to speak about how doing like the things that you don't want to do, but those things have
You
to be
have
done.
to,
You
yeah.
have to, you just have to. So now instead of like always having to think, oh, what am I gonna do tomorrow? I already have like in my mind how I wanna schedule my day. So, for instance, if now let's say I go into my night session run, I'm already thinking about tomorrow while running. Okay, this is what I'm gonna do. First, I'm gonna run with the boys. After that, go take a shower, grab some coffee, get in my desk, start editing, and then right after that, I can go do another workout. Do your sprints. Right after the sprints, come back, check up on your guest, all that. So what I'm trying to say is, all of those small habits like make a huge impact. You won't see it now, but I feel like they do make like a major impact
sure, yeah.
when you're looking at it long term, obviously.
For sure.
But then people also love like quick results, which is unfortunately a thing that doesn't leave. As I'm saying, it's a thing that doesn't leave, because you can't just start working out, lifting. Then by the end of the week, you're already big and muscle. Nah, it doesn't work like that. It's all about consistency and like showing up every day. So I feel like that the small things, making up your bed, going out for a run with the boys, um, going for those walks, or just the small major things, cleaning the house, just make a huge impact.
For sure.
And they always put you in the right state of mind, rather than having to be just sitting all around not knowing what to do, or what do I have to do next. Oh, let me go grab that food. Let me go grab that fast food, that's not gonna benefit or do anything in benefits. So yeah, it's those channels. But I want to quickly switch it to the business side of things. Like, walk us through like your business. Like, what's the portfolio behind it, and what do you guys do?
Yeah, so I own a business called Gorilla Signage and Branding. So it's a very interesting name. We specialize in signage and vehicle wraps. Vehicle wrapping is our forefront of the business.
Yeah.
But yeah, just to go back to the name, again, shout out to my wife. She's extremely creative. She is a designer by trade and by study. So she's extremely good at building a brand's image out of nothing. So long story short, not to down any other names in the industry, but I used to work for another signage company. Unfortunately, a few things happened that just left a sour taste in my mouth.
Sure.
I sat down with my wife the one day and like I told her how unhappy I was. I wanted to leave. I felt a bit underappreciated. And she was like, well, why don't you start your own signage company? I was like, what do you mean? Like I'm just gonna start my own business. She's like, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like so my father-in-law is an extremely successful businessman in Port Elizabeth, and she was like, let's sit down with him, let's see what he thinks. So then we went out for dinner at the yacht club the one night, and basically we briefly discussed this dream of starting a business. And yeah, it just sounded like a dream in the beginning. I mean, we pitched the idea to him. He asked a couple questions and he was like, okay, well, I think I was 28 or 29 at the time. I think I was 29. And then he was like, well, what do you have to lose? Because you're 29. Let's say you do it for 2 years. You're 31. If it doesn't work out, you close the business and you go work for someone else, you know. But he always reiterated, like, it's a great opportunity. He seemed to think from what I've told him that I have previously worked hard. And yeah, then we made the decision. I think I resigned the following day with immediate effect because I felt so passionate and confident in the idea. Then my wife started building the brand image, the name, and all of that. So it's basically derives from something called guerrilla marketing, which is very aggressive marketing.
Yeah.
Something similar to possibly, what Nando's do or whatever, where it's like in your face. It's we are here to take over. So it's spelled a bit differently. So obviously we naturally translated it into guerrilla signage and branding, what it is now. And I do think because it's such a distinct name, we have become a household name. We have become very recognizable when you do mention the name. We are a very small operation, but we like to keep things very close and team orientated in the business. We don't want to get to a stage where we've just got 10 staff members and you don't know this person's name or you're not as close to this person. So we like to work together to get things done.
Build that bond,
Yeah, but I will say that starting your own business is a very scary thing. I mean, the first 18 months were very challenging. We never had a premises. I always say we used to fake it until we made it, because what I would do is whenever we would communicate with clients, I would actually tell the client, this is an extra added service. So I will fetch your car from you. I will brand it. I will bring it back to you. But I never wanted the client to know that, hey, we don't actually have our own premises. So we portrayed this image of professionalism from the start. Luckily, my father-in-law allowed us to use his workshop space when we needed it. So that was something very challenging that we had to navigate in the beginning. But then, the pinnacle point for us changed when we signed GuardMed Ambulance Services, who obviously are the biggest ambulance company in Port Elizabeth. I'll never forget. I mean, I think it was probably about 4 p.m. during the week at the end of one day, and I got a phone call from Eugene. Eugene said, hey, I believe you are the guys I need to speak to about branding my vehicles, because I'm very unhappy at the moment with his current supplier. And I said, yeah, no, man, where are you calling from? And he's like, I'm calling from GuardMed Ambulance Service. And I was like, no way, man. Like, is this the break? Is this the
Yeah,
break
that's the
that we've
outbreak.
needed, you
Yeah.
know? And then, yeah, I immediately messaged my wife. I was like, you'll have no idea, like, who just messaged me and all of that. And she's like, no ways. Like, this is the next step, because their work is fleeted work. So they have a lot of vehicles and it's very consistent. They're always in accidents. And yeah, literally that same week, found the premises that we were at, spent every single cent in the bank account, getting this premises. And from there, I said to my wife, look, we've signed the lease for 2 years. I don't know how we're going to find the money to pay for the rent every single month, but we've paid it this month, and that's all that counts, And from there, we just focused a bit more on our marketing, and our workmanship has always been on point. Shout out to Anyati, who is our production manager. He also moved from ECSD with us to start the business, and he has been an integral part in making sure the quality that we put out is exceptional. We've never had a callback on a vehicle. And I do think,
Shout out to that.
we've specialized in that from the start. And yeah, it was great to sign GuardMed, and then the work was very consistent from there. And then about 2 years ago, we signed Atlas Security. So I mean, they have about a fleet of about 100 vehicles.
Yo, they have a
And
lot.
one of their vehicles are outside there at the moment. We are busy actually changing their fleet now completely. Every single vehicle is changing from camouflage straight to blue. But Atlas they're a special story to us, because I always knew that they would be the turning point for the business. So I always used to message a guy by the name of Ryan Morris, who's in charge of the marketing side of things at Atlas. And I said, Ryan, listen here, man, just let me do one of your vehicles, just one of your vehicles, and let me show you what we can do. He's like, no, the directors, like, they're fine at the moment. They're fine with the supply or whatever. I said, Ryan, just give me one vehicle. If you don't like what we do, I won't charge you for the vehicle.
On the house.
It's on the house. We'll do it for you. You can tell me, Luke, this is not what we like. I'll be like, cool, Ryan, we tried. Then I get a call from Suzu that Atlas purchased their vehicles from. And the salesperson at Atlas says, listen here, this is your chance. Atlas are buying 2 brand new vehicles. They're sending one to their current supplier, and they're sending one to you.
Yeah.
Sorry. So one to you, one to the other supplier. And when you're done, we're going to park the 2 next to each other, and then we're going to decide where they're going to go. So I was like, no problem. No problem. I don't feel pressure. I'm confident in the guy's abilities. I'm confident in myself. I said, don't stress. We'll get you the vehicle on time, X, Y, Z. Long story short, the vehicle gets done. They park the 2 of them next to each other. Ours is perfect. The other client didn't know that we were obviously going up against each other, because there were snags that were happening consistently, but they maybe thought, these guys will never leave. They've been with us for 5 years. Then there was about 11 snags on their vehicle. So they were like, okay, we're signing our vehicles over to you. And then from there, we got more staff members. We got more, products. The business grew from there. And then, ever since then, things have been going very well, because they are an extremely consistent client. Their cars are always in accidents. Obviously, they are the number 1 security company in PE. So it's allowed us to now extend into the building that we are in now. So we've actually taken over the entire property that we are on. And it was a great achievement, and just something that's very close to my heart, because it's the actual only client that I've pursued so consistently, and just to see it pay off has been very rewarding. And I always knew it would take us to the next level, and that's exactly what it did. So I'm a firm believer in manifestation, and like, I can tell you confidently that I manifested that from the start. But yeah, manifestation is a topic we could go on for hours.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
So yeah,
Yo.
that's the brief
I was
breakdown.
Hey
right
man,
in your shoes for a
shout
second.
out to Gorilla Raps.
Yeah.
If you need your car wrapped, you know who to call.
No, for
I
Yeah,
was
sure.
right living in your shoes there for a second. I forgot
yeah,
I was
yeah,
doing production.
Yeah, no, for
That
sure.
was
Yeah,
a beautiful story, but
it's
yeah.
a great story. Not
man,
many.
what a shout out to
Yeah.
your wife. Like
Now we need one of
you need
those.
you need
Everyone
like a
needs one of those.
strong mental woman, dog.
Yeah,
Like imagine if she didn't spark that from
No, well, yeah, no, honestly, yeah, without going into too much detail, probably get emotional. But I mean, if I can say one,
Hey man, it's a safe space.
yeah, no, for sure, for sure. No, I mean, like, I always see snippets of videos of billionaires,
Yeah,
and they ask them, what is the number one reason for your success? And I mean, every single one of them say, my wife, my wife, my wife, because I will say she backs me no matter what I do. She's like, okay, you want to do this? Okay, I don't know how we're going to do it, but we're going to do
let's
it.
do
Okay,
it.
let's sit down. Let's come up with a plan. How are we going to do it? I say to her, I think I'm going to do half Ironman. She's like, okay, cool. What's step 1, 2, and 3? How do we get you on that journey? And I think, she gives me a safe space to be myself. I did have quite a few toxic relationships, as I'm sure we've all had. But
for sure.
yeah, I would say from the first week that we met, I definitely felt a different energy from her, and something that was very unusual that she brought into my life is that she told me from the beginning is I don't need you to focus on me. I can handle myself. Like, don't worry about that. I need you to focus on yourself. Because if you can't make yourself happy, how are you going to make me happy?
sure.
So already from the beginning, she always told me that if you need time for yourself, tell me you need time for yourself. If you need to achieve this goal, tell me you need to achieve this goal, and we can figure out how will we get you there. And she always prioritized, what do I need to do to be the best version of myself, and what does she need to do to be the best version of herself? So that was something that was very different to experience. But I mean, we could probably shoot one whole episode about her. But I just think it's very important that you find a woman that believes in you and also brings positivity into every aspect of your life. And I won't lie, I mean, you are going to have difficult conversations along the way, but we are a firm believer in let's have that difficult conversation now and get through it, and then we never have to address that again. I mean, when we did meet, I mean, we used to love, going out on the weekend, having drinks with friends. And I think if I didn't meet her, my life would be a lot different now. And I just think it's, don't underestimate the value of a good woman in your life.
Yeah.
I think I know what I'm doing next. I'm getting a wife, bro. I'm getting a wife.
But don't force it. Let it come natural.
Nah, for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely the best investment you can make.
Yeah.
For sure. How do you balance between being an athlete and running a business? Because for sure it's draining.
Yeah, in the beginning, it was difficult. Also, like I mentioned, with triathlon, it was a pricey sport. I don't think I will go back to it because it takes a big toll on your life. But I think balance is something that you need to find in your early days. So another contributing factor to why I stopped triathlon is it actually started to affect my business. So again, going back to those early mornings, when I was training for triathlon, 2 sessions a day is completely normal, and sometimes you're doing 3 sessions a day. So you're swimming, and then maybe you have to go for a run quickly, and then you'll cycle in the evening. So the problem that I was facing is I didn't have the discipline to wake up early. So now I'm chasing the day drastically. So I might have had a 2-hour cycle that I had to do in the morning. Now I've missed it. So if I woke up at 4:30 and I started my cycle at 5, I would be done by 7, eat a quick breakfast, shower, go to the office. Cool, great start to the day. But now I will admit that I did not have the discipline to do that consistently. So now I'm trying to find 2 hours during the day. So what I would do is get all my work done quickly in the morning, bang, 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 get the guys going. Now I'm like, okay, I'm going to go out for a cycle now. It's 1:00. So now I'll go out for a cycle, and while I'm on my ride, my phone is blowing up. It's customers calling me. There's a problem at the office, XYZ. I'm like, guys, I'll be back at 3:30. So yeah, the business started to take a bit of a knock. Well, it didn't, the business itself did not take a knock, but I felt fraudulent. I felt, why do I deserve to be cycling here while the guys are hustling, working in the office, getting things done? So yeah, I had a few difficult conversations with my wife, and I said, you know what, this is how I feel. She said, yeah, she agrees, and it's not ideal. And I said, yeah, look, I've achieved everything that I wanted in the sport. So we decided that the best step moving forward was to give it a bit of a backseat. But moving to your question, the way things have changed now is, I think my number one rule is that the business is what allows me to have the platform that I do in terms of being an athlete. So you need to make money in order to buy your equipment, run a running club, enter races, travel for races, and things like that. So the rule I've made now is no athlete time during business hours, but also no business during personal hours. So if you are my client and you call me at 5 to 8, I will not answer your call.
In the afternoon.
No, in the morning.
Yeah.
So 5 to 8 in the morning, I will not answer your call. If you call me at 5:05, I will not answer your call. My operating hours are 8 till 5. I respect your operating hours. You can respect my operating hours.
For sure.
Because I've found in the past, okay, cool, I take your call. I mean, I have some clients calling me at 6:30 in the morning, which is also like ridiculous. So if I take your call that very first time, we are now going to step over a boundary of respect, because you don't respect my time. I'm not calling you while you're with your family to ask you to pay this invoice. I will call you at 8 a.m. when your operating hours start.
Operating hours.
Sure.
Yeah. So something that I've taken home with me is that as soon as I walk through that front door,
Leaving
business
work
is
behind.
done.
Yeah.
There's nothing else I can possibly do today that can fix what's happened today. So if we've had a few delays, let's reassess those delays. Let's communicate the delays with the client, and then we'll move on to tomorrow. We can prioritize it tomorrow, but today's already done. So there's no point in crying over spilt milk, you know.
For sure.
As long as the communication is there, I think that you'll always stay on top of the client's trust. But I think for me, the integral turning point has been just leaving business outside the front door. Look, there will be times when, there's a massive job, like we've been doing work for the G20 or the Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium and things like that. So, look, sometimes the rule can be broken. Sorry.
For sure. Quick break. Going smoothly though. Hey, it's okay. Hey man, quick question. Can we crack one of these?
Please.
Yeah, for sure.
Take one. You can take this flavor if you want.
Winter edition.
Yeah, no, sorry about that. Yeah.
Yeah, for
So where were we? Yeah, business and how do we balance it? Yeah, so I think that was a great turning point, because what I found is, if I take your call after hours, now you're going to expect that of me every single time. And that's what I started to notice until I made a decision where I just stopped answering those calls. And the client will be like, Luke, I'm trying to get hold of you. And I'll be like, please respect my time. I respect your time. You can respect my time. I understand there's an exchange of services and there's an exchange of money. But at the same time, the client and the supplier do need to be dealt the same level of respect, because at the end of the day, you are working at your business to make money. I'm working at my business to make money. And we're both trying to provide for our families. So there's no need to, Yeah, I understand the
over
customer's
requirements.
always right and
Yeah.
things like that, but that isn't always the case. So I just think, yeah, it's important to set boundaries. But there will be times where you have to stretch those boundaries, and it is understandable. But I think 80% of the time, you just need to make sure that business stays business and personal time stays personal time.
For sure, for sure.
I picked up something new for sure today.
No, 100%.
Yeah, I picked up something new
For
for
sure,
sure
sure.
today.
If
Yeah,
if if you could run anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Like a race or just a destination?
I would say just
normal
a
runs.
morning jog, yeah. Like a specific place.
It's a tricky one.
I would say Copenhagen, maybe Denmark.
Well, that's
Why
tricky.
that?
My wife, she's got a few runs on her Strava in Copenhagen.
Yeah.
Actually, she's traveled there for work. Yeah, no, that's extremely tricky question. I mean, look, I won't lie. One thing that we always say is like whenever we travel, we had the privilege of going to Hong Kong in December, so we did a few runs there. But whenever we come back to Port Elizabeth,
Hong Kong's in China, right?
it's like just off mainland China. So it's in China, but it's its own country, if that makes sense. Like similar to, I mean, look, I did geography a long
Madagascar.
time ago, but similar to like Namibia, where it's
Yeah.
like its own landlocked, it has its own government, it has its own money.
For sure,
So
for
it's like just off mainland China. So
Yeah.
the runs there were beautiful. But I think every single time we come back home, it's like, this is home. The air is different.
Yeah.
But yeah, we do have a few bucket list races. My wife has run the New York Marathon, which is part of the Big Six. So the Big Six is like, there's one in Sydney, Hong Kong, Berlin, Tokyo, and
Tokyo,
then
Japan.
there's, I think Chicago is the hardest one to get into. So they call it the Big Six because when you finish all 6 races, they give you this one massive medal that's got all 6 together. And then, fun fact, Cape Town has been a marathon major candidate for the last 3 years. So this marathon this year in Cape Town will be the final trial. And then the next year, it will be a marathon major. So now there will be 7 world majors.
Oh, nice.
So that's usually like a bucket list item. So yeah, we would like to run most of those, hopefully all of them one day. So she already has 1 star. I'm yet to run one of those races. Obviously, I've run Cape Town Marathon twice, but it's not a world major yet. So hopefully next year, you will have to enter a ballot where you can basically have a raffle to get a ticket. So maybe you'll get a ticket. So I'd love to run that next year. But I think, bucket list race would be Chicago Marathon. It is the fastest course, and it's the hardest race to get into because the qualifying times are ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I think, if I had to run somewhere, I would say that race. I don't think I have like a specific place that I would like to run. So that's a very, very tricky question.
I mean, for me, I would like to run on. Do they call it the Great Wall of
Great Wall
China?
of China,
Yeah.
I think there's actually a race on there as well.
Yeah.
So there's a few interesting races that you'll find if you Google them. I mean, there's a marathon in Antarctica where you just run obviously on the snow. There's one by the Great Pyramids of Giza, so that could also be quite fun as well. So, and then I mean, I just think that's where the conversation comes as to what's next because you achieve a marathon. Now you're like, okay, what race can I do next? Because one of my crazy goals is that I want to run like 100-miler trail race one day, which is like 220K. So it's basically like a 25-hour race, if not longer. But
That is
I would just like to see, what would my mind go through? What would I learn about myself? So I think it would just be like a really great experience.
Putting your body in so much stress. That would be
The
insane.
guys take like little naps along the way.
I
and
met
things
someone
like that.
by the Heartbreak Hill race as well. I think he was also preparing for I think he mentioned one. I think he said is it Gauteng or in Durban? whereby they're running like 80 kilometers or something.
Oh yeah, no, well that's this Sunday. So myself and Tyron are doing the same race.
Hey,
Yeah.
yo.
So we're leaving tomorrow. So yeah, that's Comrades Marathon.
Yeah, that he
Yeah.
mentioned that one.
Yeah.
Yo, I'm
So
like, this doesn't
yeah.
stop. You think that you want to run half a marathon, you go for the marathon,
Yeah.
but then you get to realize there's even more out there.
Yeah, so yeah, that's where
Yes.
our friendship is quite exciting because we will always challenge each other. And then I said to him last year, jokingly, but not really jokingly, let's do Comrades Marathon. And he's like, I'll do it if you do it. And I'm like, bro, let's go. Let's
sure.
go. So yeah, you have to basically, for the listeners that don't know, Comrades is the oldest ultra marathon in the world. It's also the biggest road ultra marathon in the world. 22,000 people. There's an up run and a down run. So every year it changes. So this year we are running from Pietermaritzburg to Durban. It's 89.98 kilometers. The cutoff time is 12 hours. Yes. Then next year there'll be an up run where you run from Durban to Pietermaritzburg, and then it changes like obviously like that, alternating every year. Also 12-hour cutoff time. The down run has about 1,400 meters of elevation along the course, where the up run has 2,200 meters of elevation. So I think the Heartbreak Hill was obviously quite challenging. It's an extremely challenging half marathon, but there's only about 280 meters of elevation on that race. Yeah. So now already you're looking at 7 times that. Yeah, so it'll be our first time doing that. The training has been daunting, but yeah, it's a very exciting race. It's very historical. It's actually the oldest, yeah, like I said, the oldest ultra marathon. It started after the First World War. That's why it's called the Comrades Marathon, because all the comrades of the World War One got together. Yeah. And actually there was a bit of dispute with some of the farmland that was like stolen while the guys were away at war or something like that. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I got the butt end of the story. And then they actually protested from Pietermaritzburg to Durban as a protest to the Parliament buildings, and then that's how the race was developed. So yeah, we're leaving tomorrow. The race is on Sunday. And yeah, it's going to be a life-changing experience.
You're representing the boys there for sure.
Yeah, no, we have to. We're representing everyone there.
For sure.
Definitely
and also,
need
can you
feedback from that. Yeah.
During these races, can you like track a person with a race number?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, so you can search the name or the race number in the Comrades app, and then you'll be able to track the guys' distances and things like that. But it's definitely going to be quite a challenging weekend because obviously we are leaving tomorrow, but then there's a lot of mental prep that needs to go in once we get there. Also, the race is starting in Pietermaritzburg and we're staying in Durban, so all the accommodation was sold out in Pietermaritzburg, so we actually had to stay in Durban. Some of our mates booked early, and the best way to do it is you would book your accommodation in Pietermaritzburg so you can wake up later and get to the race start, because the race starts at 5:45. But obviously Pietermaritzburg is very small, so the accommodation sells out very quickly. So now we've had to stay in Durban, and then we will have to take a shuttle to Pietermaritzburg in the morning, but that shuttle leaves at 2 in the morning, which means we need to wake up at 12:30, which means we need to go to bed at 5 p.m., but you're not really going to sleep because your nerves are going to be next level, So yeah, it's going to be a challenging day from the start, but I'm excited to see what I'll learn about myself. What struggles we'll go through, but we'll overcome it.
For sure.
It's going to be extremely life-changing. There's a documentary you can actually watch about it on YouTube that I would highly recommend anyone who doesn't really know about the race, just to learn about it. But I will just mention on the note of the race is one of the presenters or old runners in the race. He started the documentary. I watched it yesterday and the day before because it's just so good. And it had me with just tears in my eyes the whole entire time, just thinking that I have the privilege of attempting this race. But basically, his opening line of the documentary was, listen, listen, I hear a thundering black and gold storm that's coming from the mountains of Pietermaritzburg down to the Indian Ocean. And I've been searching for this person my whole entire life, and I've just found him. And that person is me. I've answered the call of this challenge, and I've overcome this challenge. So it's just like a mantra that he came up with for all the comrades runners, because again, like I think you are going to learn so much about yourself
That's a big storm for
during that
sure.
race, So
What's the name of the documentary?
it's called Down, A Comrade Story, but the title is called Down because they documented the down run.
For sure, for sure.
So yeah, I just think it's a beautiful documentary. It shows you everything the runners will experience.
Now I'll check it out.
Yeah, I mean, a notable point there was like on the 30-kilometer mark, you actually run past a disabled school in the area, and they say like these kids live for the day of the comrades because it's the only hope they get the whole year. Because there are a few disabled athletes that take part, but of course it's extremely challenging. But you've got all these kids on the sideline that are cheering you on, and like again, running is such a privilege, and these kids just wish they could walk. And here you are, putting yourself through such a race. Just giving them hope. So I think running is a beautiful space that, we can just give hope to everyone possible around us.
It's crazy, yo.
I
But
can
back on the business side, yo, that's crazy. Yo. It's a privilege to get to walk.
Yeah. Imagine going even past them, and having to hear them cheering you up. You would just be like, yeah, this is what I'm doing it for. For those who can't walk.
But on the business side, I don't know if you can share this information and all. We want to know of how do you get sponsors, or how do you get funds from other sponsors or future investors when you were
For the business. Look, to be completely honest and fair, we are 100% like self-made.
Yeah.
So we haven't had any investors. I will give a shout out to my father-in-law. He's helped us a lot with guidance, and he's helped us with some deposits that we've needed to achieve some large jobs. Without going into too much detail, if you ever go to NMB Stadium, we installed 2 of the biggest light boxes in South Africa there. So we were in an unfortunate situation where the client wasn't able to pay a deposit for the job, and the job was quite large. So, again, I think his belief in me goes beyond any measure, and I really do appreciate what he's done for me and the business, because I don't have a father figure in my life, and ever since me and my wife started dating, he's always been extremely motivating, extremely guiding, extremely critical when he needed to be critical, and be like, hey, you're messing up here, get your head straight. So I was blessed enough to ask him for the assistance to get that job, and he was comfortable in doing it immediately, because he saw the vision, he saw the potential, he saw what we've already achieved. So I will say shout out to him for, believing in me and giving me the guidance and the funding when we needed those types of things. But I would say, if you're just asking for my advice, if I didn't have the privilege of asking someone for guidance like that, I think it's just important to create a paper trail of what you have achieved on a smaller scale and just scaling it to a larger scale, because there's no reason why you can't turn 50 Rand into 100 Rand. And something that he's also always said to me is like, if I give you 20 grand and you can't turn 20 grand into 40 grand, you shouldn't be in business. But if you are looking for funding from somebody, or from a company, or from a bank or an investor, I think it's important to show them your consistency on a smaller level, So if you've turned every single 50 Rand into 100 Rand, there's no reason why you can't turn 50,000 Rand into 100,000 Rand, because logically it should just be the same method. You're just doing it on a larger scale.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a very challenging thing in business, because I do think, especially in Port Elizabeth, a lot of the businesses that we see are very much old money. It's my grandfather ran this business, and then it got passed down and things like that. So I think another thing is, don't let those facades fool you, because a lot of people have been handed a lot, but on the same stick on the opposite end, a lot of people are self-made. And I think, it's challenging place to be in. Cash flow in small businesses can make or break you. But to answer your question, I would say just, be consistent and approach someone that, maybe the finances is actually not what you need. You might just need the guidance.
Yeah.
But I think, if you are going to get some funding, just be consistent on a smaller scale, because then there's no reason why you can't do it on a larger scale.
For sure. Because I was speaking on what we're doing, we don't get much revenue on. Well, we get a lot of this stuff from our own pocket money and see.
For sure.
Yeah. So I was
Just enjoying
wondering,
the process.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
No,
yeah,
it's admirable. It's admirable. I think if you're looking for things like that, I think it's also important to stay authentic, because a lot of people just want funding and sponsors to say they have sponsors.
Yeah.
I know a few people that we won't mention names or whatever, but all they want to do is be sponsored, just to say they're sponsored. But I think what you'll find with a lot of podcasts, if we are just going to go back to podcasts, as soon as you remain authentic, I think that's when investors will be like, hey, I see what these guys are doing. I see why they're doing it. They're not just trying to get clout. They're not just trying to be like, oh, we've got sponsors. So I think stay consistent and stay true to who you are, and then people will recognize. And, something that I enjoy doing is supporting small businesses, because I was a small business and people supported me. So I just also want to see people grow. But it's got to happen with consistency and authenticity, because as soon as you stray away from your morals, then you're not doing it for the right reasons.
Sure.
So I think that's the small bit of advice. Because I'm still very small myself, but again, there's no reason why you can't take those small habits and make them big,
Nah, for sure.
Made of time.
Yeah.
Just to cut it short, thank you for actually having us today. And I think I love this space, man. It didn't feel like as if it's our first time here.
It's a cool aesthetic.
Yeah. I'm just looking on, I felt as if this is our production, space, kind of space. But
Feels comfortable.
we feel like at home. Yeah, as soon as we walked in through the space. And good luck with obviously the run on Sunday with Thyron. I trust the boys that they're gonna get it done.
For sure.
Either ways. So
Dope boys.
Yo, shout out to the boys, man,
Yeah.
as usual. And but most importantly, thank you for sharing your experience to the platform. This is what we're trying to do as a podcast, bring insight to people, and also not only life advice, but also it could be spiritual advice, having to tune into yourself, having to talk about, sport and how you can find yourself through sport, taking those principles, putting them into business, and every other aspect of your life. So this is a wide podcast. It covers a wide range of topics, but you also get the chance of having to find yourself, having to listen to these kind of conversations. So thank you for actually hosting us into your space.
Yeah. Thanks.
Anything you want to say before?
Appreciate it.
Oh, by the way, guys, this is not sponsored by Red Bull, but
Yeah. Just for the aesthetic.
No, I mean, we appreciate Red Bull. They obviously support most of our events. So we did ask them, would they like to come into our space as well? So they've been very helpful with growing the run clubs and events. So, I mean, it's just why we like to keep them involved. But I appreciate you guys coming out. It's not every day that I get to tell my story. I think I'm not really one that likes to just tell my story because I want to tell it, but I think it's important for people to understand that things don't happen overnight. There's a lot more that goes behind the scenes.
For sure.
So yeah, I think the topics that we covered, we could even dive individually into all of them, like in an episode. So I think we'll definitely have some more episodes in the future. We can dive into, solely business or relationships or mental health. But I do appreciate the fact that we've been able to touch on each topic slightly.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think you guys should give yourselves credit as well, because there aren't a lot of people in the podcasting space, especially the fact that you're incorporating video in that as well. I mean, you guys have a very professional setup. So I think give yourself a lot more credit than where it's due. I do think that your professionalism is unmatched. And I think, stay true to yourself. I mean, even on the running side, I mean, you guys have come a very long way. It doesn't happen overnight. I'm sure you realize once, go into the longer distances and that, maybe there's a little bit of work that, of course, has to go behind the scenes. And again, like anything, it's what happens behind the scenes that
For sure.
matters the most, because when the people aren't watching and the crowds aren't cheering, you still need to do the hard work. So I think stay true to yourselves, and I think your work is admirable. I look up to you on the podcasting space, and I think, even if you change one person's life, it's more than enough,
Yeah, for sure. Shout out.
No, for sure.
Shit.
No, for sure.
Yeah, you guys stay tuned, and we'll see you guys with more episodes that's gonna come in the future. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We're gonna close it up with the nice thumbs up for y'all. See you up in the next one.
Yeah, Dick. Yeah.
It's been your boy, Luke Beinman, right? Is it Beinman?
It's been a man.
Binaman.
I told you,
there we go.
it's Binaman.
It's been your boy with
Shout
Luke
outs.
Binaman, and we'll see you guys with more episodes coming up for you guys in the future. Ciao.
Signing out. Yeah.